Hey, welcome to another episode of the Meaningful Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Chantal Gerardy, and today I'm here with Trey Williams from the Transformational Breathing Method. I'm so super excited to have you here as a guest today. For those of you who've been following my journey on social media and through the podcast, you will know that I've been going on this weird kind of journey of doing my trauma release certification in somatics and now breathwork. And when I decided to do breathwork, there was no other person that I was going to do my training with other than Trey. So, because I've been following him for a while and I was like, I like what he's doing. So I'm absolutely so incredibly privileged to have you here with us today.
So good to be here. Thanks for having us. Yeah.
So, some people are like, breath work, I say to one of my friends, I'm doing breath work. And they go, hey, I breathe every day. So what would you say if somebody was to say, hey, I breathe every day, you don't need to do breath work? How would you deal with that? Just throw you under the bus.
Yeah, well, it's a great question because I was breathing every day and life wasn't going so well. So it wasn't until I started to learn about conscious breathing that then things started to shift at a really dramatic level. And so I think the thing I learned was that, we're always doing patterns, right? So this breath it has been a gateway to transformation. And every time you take a conscious breath, you're just that one step closer to this evolution of being the best version of yourself, because you get so much clarity through your breath, because the breath is what actually shows you how to move and intuit and actually take the action that's needed. So for me, breath has been the absolute high performance. It's the flow state. And so, yeah, as I was just saying before, I'd be lost without the breath. And a day where I don't do my breathing practice, I feel it, I notice it, not just from energy, but even the results that actually start to show up in life. So it's huge.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I've probably been doing it now for the last 2 years, and I'm just about to finish my certification in it as well. And I think it was first recommended to me when they said, Chantal, look, you've got ADHD, you're got high capacity, you're a high achiever, you're highly driven, you going into perimenopause and that. They were like, at some point, you're going to have something that's going to help to ground you. And for me, I was journaling, I was doing talk therapy, I was doing meditation, and I was really struggling with those modalities. And then when I tried breathwork, I was like, oh, I love this. I think because it's like an activity. And I think it was because I was taking the time to do it. So I'd always book it in my calendar, go and do a session. So I was taking that time out to do it. And then I was being present with it. And like you said, conscious breathing. Conscious breathing is purposeful, it's chosen, it's thoughtful. And when you do it thoughtfully, rather than holding your breath throughout the day and having these short little breaths throughout the day, it's so incredibly beneficial for you. And I have seen the changes in myself, and I've seen the changes in the people that I've worked with in breathwork. So I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's huge. And so the key about the breath is that, we hold a lot of energy in our body, and we hold a lot of, past traumas and different things that have happened. And so when you try and change from the mind, have you noticed how it doesn't always stick, right? So you can't change an issue in the mind with trying to fix it through the mind. It doesn't really work. So what we talk about the soma. And the soma is the Greek word for the body. And there's a book out there called The Body Keeps the Score. And so when we've had sort of any accidents, you might even have an accident and your shoulder kind of freezes up and you kind of notice you're a bit tense. Imagine on a deeper level. Imagine if you were running around with just say, even a little trauma, let's say a little t. And so trauma is coming from something that's happened too fast, all of a sudden, or if we're not getting enough of something. So that sits as a little trauma, which is stress in our body. And where does it get kept? In the fascia in the body. And so if we have this stress in the body, and if the body keeps the score, then if we can go into the soma and we can clear through the body, we can clear the mind. So then the mind can have a different perception, I should say. And then from that mind space, you get to then create a new reality. And then we talk about the flow state. And we have this ability to transcend. But really what's happening is, just from a science perspective, we're actually manipulating, controlling our heart rate, the brain states that we go into, so then we can start thinking clearer. And so we can assess a situation with full consciousness. So not just a fraction of consciousness. So let's say it's a business decision that you're looking at, and you're trying to get a different perspective, or you're trying to get an aha, or is this the right thing to do? So imagine looking from a very different lens, a very short lens, versus the whole picture. So when your consciousness expands through your breath work, you have the ability to respond, meaning you take responsibility for your life and your business. And so the breath is this incredible way to go into, like I said, this high performance state. So breath is, I think it's the gateway to performance. And you're only ever one breath away from creating a different reality.
Oh, so much goodness in there. I know, like, I had this 2-year period where I was just so frustrated. I've got all these friends that are, psychologists and, woo and coaches and whatever. And we'd have all these great conversations. And I was trying to work in my mind. I was trying to work through all these things, And as a high achiever and as somebody, who's, I think, intelligent, I'm trying to work it all out and figure it out, and I'm researching it and doing everything, but I'm trying to do everything in my head and trying to, fix everything in my head. And when I did the breath work and I actually took the time to follow the processes and go through the flow, suddenly it wasn't my brain that was controlling the release of it anymore. I could tap into the body and see where it was sitting, like you were saying, and then it would just release and it would go, and there would just be the most amazing epiphanies and clarity and that came from it. And it was long lasting. It wasn't fleeting.
Yeah.
So it is just such an amazing experience, and probably one of the reasons why I started bringing it for business owners, because in their marketing, they're going, I'm burnt out. I can't make decisions. I can't come up with new campaigns. I don't have any creativity. I'm frustrated and annoyed and irritable with my team. And they're trying to run their businesses and they're frantic. And I'm like, but when you do the breath work and that, it just brings everything back to the base level of it. And it doesn't change what's happening. It changes the way that you respond to what's happening. And I, for myself and for the business owners, I've seen it and I've seen the result. And it's absolutely amazing. So tell us a little bit about how you got into it. What's your story of how you got into breath work?
Yeah, I mean, breath work for me was something that I didn't know anything about. Growing up in little old Adelaide, it wasn't something that I'd heard about. But, I think everyone goes through a dark night of the soul, or you go through something that really kind of hits you hard and it makes you have a different perception or a different way of looking at life. And you kind of get this crossroads where do you go this way or do you take the higher path? And so for me, it was a relationship breakup when I was in my early 20s, and it made me have to actually look at myself and go within. And so for me, breathwork started from a slightly different angle of getting into yoga. I remember seeing a sign at this yoga studio that said, find your power, find your purpose. I'll have some of that, please. That is what I'm after. And so I remember laying there and we did all this sort of slow, deep breathing. And we got to this thing they call Shavasana. And I'm laying there and all of a sudden this ego tray, this guy with so much insecurities and fear, everything let go. And I was just there breathing and I started crying. And I was just wow. And I could actually see in that moment everything that my partner had said about me was kind of true, and I could actually own it, which I didn't know then is what we call awareness or consciousness. And then everything opened up and I was like, well, how do I do more of this? So I started going to yoga, but what I started to love was all this stuff called pranayama, because in 5 minutes you could do all these deep breaths and you could do all these different sort of techniques, and every breath responded to a different part of the brain. Every breath related to your nervous system, or a breath related to your heart. So I always knew that one day this would be the path that I would go to. And so I started doing more yoga and breath work, and then that's when I came across a guy called Wim Hof. And so you've probably heard of him. He's, the Ice Man, and he's this incredible guy that teaches sort of breath work and ice. And long story short, just had a really surreal moment where I got to meet Wim. And he kind of took me under his wings for a few months, and he helped me with some speaking gigs. And he really wanted to help me because I kind of told him the reason why I got into breath work was, yes, that was the relationship sort of breakup, but why was there a breakup? And for me, it was actually a mental health challenge that I had. A few years prior, I got Lyme disease when I was living over in North America, and that really affected my brain, had severe depression, anxiety, and I just couldn't think straight. And then when he found out I had Lyme disease. He's like, let's go. Like, I want to hear more about this and let's talk about it, how the breath is helping. I said, well, it's helping me a lot because it's helping me personally with inflammation. It's helping me to get out of fight and flight because I was always in this like survival brain where I couldn't think straight. I couldn't come up with the right decisions. And then every time I did breath, anxiety started to slow down. I could breathe again. I could be in the present moment. I could have a relationship again. So then Wim I remember he kind of helped me with a few pieces and he looked me in the eye and he was like, are you ready to go for this? And I was like, go for what? And he's like, spread the word about breath work. And so I did. And I actually very quickly after he left Australia, I started my own breath work kind of, I guess, workshop. And I kind of played around. I didn't fully know what I was doing, but I loved it. And the feedback that I was getting was all these people were getting the same results that I was getting. Clarity, freedom, peace of mind. Their business was doubling and tripling. And I was really amazed at the results these people were getting. And so I realized, well, I think this is my niche. You know, let's help people to become free and to live their Dharma. And I always say, you know, you're either living in your Dharma or you're in your karma. And breath work helps people to live in their purpose. Because every time you do a breathwork session, you've probably noticed this, that let's say you go in and you wouldn't mind a bit more clarity, you'd love to kind of know, like, you know, what's that next thing in my business? And all of a sudden, here you are doing some breath work, and out of nowhere, your brain changes, your heart changes, the connection between your heart and your brain changes, and you get a new idea. And so that's why it's been really evolutionary, because we can look at breath work from the Vedic perspective, or we can look at it from a science. And the great thing is they kind of match and come back together again. And so that's the process of being able to look at the science and then also look at, you know, the energy of what breath work really is. And so the journey has been really profound, and I'm super grateful because, you know, the days now where I used to be stuck for weeks and weeks in a black hole, and I'd go from one bad relationship to the next bad relationship, and it was like, oh, it's them, it's not me. And then I realized it was me. And so when you can go, oh, it was me, and then breathwork gives you the opportunity to see that, then you have the ability to not only respond and take responsibility for your life, but then you can change it. And so when you can change it, you can transform. And the beautiful thing I love about breathwork is it's not so much you have to shift and change, improve yourself. It's not so much that. You get to self-discover what was already the magic inside of your heart. And when you realize that in your heart is a code and it's the only way that you can do it, then you bring that to the world, and then that becomes your marketing, because that becomes your song and that becomes your Dharma. And like I said, you're either one or two people. You're either in fear or you're in connection. So you're either in fear in your business or you're in absolute beautiful connection. And when you're in connection within your business, that's when you get these 10x, these results that come that are almost like, well, how did that happen? But when you reverse engineer it, it comes always back to your breath, your heart rate, and your brain state. And that's why I just love how phenomenal breathwork is.
We can see that. So let's talk about that survival versus thinking brain, because like I moved from South Africa to Australia. I had absolutely no money. Like I went through massive trauma in the early stages of my life, having to build and rebuild and be a single mom and support my family and grow everything or whatever. So there was this massive survival mode. It makes sense that you're then going to have money mindset issues. It makes sense you're going to have control issues. It makes sense that you're going to be hustling and working hard. It makes sense that you're going to be frantic, right? But then, like, for me, the difference was I made a decision. My decision was I wanted to choose the type of person I wanted to be, and I didn't want to be that person. And then for me, it's around, like, what are the characteristics of the type of person that I want to be, and then finding the way to become that thing. And breathwork is part of that for me. And then it's about, for me, breath work, that's whole survival just starts to go. And suddenly there's just pure gratitude and appreciation and insight and opportunity, which I loved what you said earlier. So talk about survival versus thinking brain and how it might affect people in their business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, So when it comes down to, like, say, the survival brain, what we mean by that is your nervous system is always on edge. And your nervous system, your brain, is always looking for a threat. And the reason that you're looking for a threat is because something has happened in your life and you have built up this energy or this tension and you're holding it as a pattern. And so we're always doing patterns. So if we're doing patterns, then we're always going to get back in business. Literally what we can hold as a capacity in terms of what we call our nervous system capacity. So there's two parts. You've got your nervous system capacity and then your subconscious capacity. And so we live in a different world than thousands of years ago. And so we used to always be under threat. So if we left the cave, we could get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. And so now we don't have to leave the cave, but we literally just have to leave the house, and we have a phone and we have all these different things that are happening, and it can impact on how our brain functions. And so if we're always in this survival mode, then we're not thinking clearly. Like, even to the point where maybe you're so busy and you're so stressed that you can't even remember your friend's name. And so when we get into that state, all we can do is keep looking for threats. And so, like I said, it's like you have a lens, and as you look out, you're looking for the threats, then you're only ever going to get threats. Then in business, you're going to get problems. You won't get opportunities. Okay. So you're either going to be in the threat or you're going to be thriving. And so that's the difference. And so when we can switch out of survival and we can actually come into like a thriving brain, so then that's when opportunity starts to come. But then to do that, it's actually science. We're coming into what we call a ventral space. When we come into a ventral space in our body, we are breathing differently, our brain is acting differently, and we come into like a rest and digest in the body. We come into the parasympathetic nervous system. When we come into that system, things start to shift. And the way that it shifts is because, like I said, we open up to a deeper opportunity, we open up to a different paradigm, and we open up to more like this flow state. So all good things happen when we're in the unknown. Have you noticed that, like, you say yes to something and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, that wouldn't have happened if I didn't go out of my comfort zone. But how do you go out of your comfort zone when you're in threat? How do you get out of your comfort zone when you're always just trying to survive? You're just trying to make the same income every week. You're trying to come up with an idea for your business, but nothing's coming through. And then you're always in your business. You're busy in your business and forever waking up, and it's like Groundhog Day. So you can't have any reality because you have the same personality. And the reason that you have that is because you're in survival. So when we come out of survival and we come into ventral, we come into victory. So to come into this victory space is when we tune in and we can start to literally focus on becoming a different person. And when we become a different person through clarity and through awareness, then we will create a different personality. And we're always getting back what we're being. So the universe is responding to who we're being. If you're really tired and stressed, you're in survival, like I said, you can't even think of somebody's name, and you wake up and then you try and do business, everything goes wrong. Somebody cuts in front of you here, and then this happens here, and then you lose a deal, and this part of the business closes down. But when you come into the unknown, which is the present moment, that's your infinite self. And the way to access that is through your breathing, is to come home to being super present. And then all possibilities, all opportunities, then you say yes because you're in a great state. When you're in a really good state, you just want to take action on something. You think of it, you're in a lousy state and you're in a shopping center. Would you really want to stop and talk to someone who you haven't seen for years? Versus you just want to talk to everybody when you wake up. Imagine in your business, you wake up and you're so energized, you're so in flow that you just want to shout from the mountaintop how epic you are and your business is. And then that becomes your marketing plan. Your marketing plan is actually your dharma. So your business card is who you're being. Your business card is your frequency. And so when you can tune into your frequency, then that is your business card. And so when it comes to, say, things like marketing, really what's happening is you're so passionate about the breakthrough that you had in your life. And all you're doing to the world is expressing that you're so passionate about the breakthrough you had. Your products and services is literally the A to Z on how you get a breakthrough. And you're here talking from passion. And so that's all we're really doing. It's not like we're selling. We're being authentic. We're being real. And we're literally just documenting how I got from here to here with passion. And if you do it authentically and you do it real and you have breath work and say a daily practice, people are going to feel the frequency, the vibration, and they're going to feel someone who's going deeper and deeper into the unknown. And so all the results you're ever going to have in life is because you know how to go into the unknown. If you go into the known on the day-to-day basis, you'll get stuck and you'll get stagnant and you won't be open to more opportunities, and then more opportunities won't actually come to you.
Oh, so much I love. I always say that you're a magnet. So whatever you're putting out is what you're going to attract. So exactly what you said, when people are walking around and it's like, I want what she's having. Like, that's the kind of energy it is. People just want to work with you. I remember posting the first breathwork session that I took, and I posted the journey on social media and I put the picture up. And that afternoon I got a call from somebody in Sydney who's now asked me to go speak at a conference in Sydney. They're a fitness business, and they said it's health, wellness and fitness business, massive conference. And they were like, we knew you were in marketing, but now we saw this whole beautiful space of doing breath work and trauma, and you shared your heart and what you do and your purpose for people, and now we want you to come and present to this. And, you know, they're now paying for me to go down to Sydney, and I got that opportunity the same day. And it's a case of, you know, just that authenticity. But let's go back to the song, because you and I, you know, we sun gazed on Saturday morning and did a breathwork session together, and you spoke about the song, and I loved that. Like, I slept on it last night, and I was just like, our content is our song. And you spoke about your business card, you know, you and how you are and your dharma. And it's like, if you look after yourself and you look after that song, how beautiful is that song going to be? How meaningful is it going to be for you and for everyone else? And how amazing is your content, and how much more you're going to cut through to people. And I absolutely love that. So talk to us a little bit about the song and the gift that we have, or the opportunity that we have with the song.
Yeah, I mean, when you feel into a song that you really love, it has a frequency. It transcends time and space. It could be a song that's 30 years ago, from 40 years ago. It could be from a year ago. And it becomes something that everybody on the planet feels a frequency within. And every person on the planet has that song within them. It's who they are. It's what I call your true north. And so your true north is your purpose. And you're the only one that literally can sing the song in that way. And so when you get really quiet and you tune in and you use the breath, you'll feel something wants to come out of you. You're not trying to manipulate, or you're not trying to do anything. You're just allowing something that was already inside of you to come out. And when it does come out, it has a resonance. And in that resonance, people are going to feel where it came from. Like, did it come from the head? Or was it something that was so profound, so timeless? And did it come from the heart? And so we have so many songs within us. We have songs about our heartache. We have songs about our breakup. We have songs about the times where, you know, we had something really incredible happen. You know, we have the songs about having, say, children, or the song about how did we start our business. And I think that everybody has a series of songs, and these songs become your brand. They become your message. And like I said, you're either in your dharma, which is your purpose, or you're in your karma, which is your clashes, or all of the issues, the traumas and all of the different blocks and limitations that are in the way of you actually like living the song. And if you look at all the greatest songs that ever happened, and it's like, where did it come from? Was it something that they had to think really hard about, or did it just somehow come through them? And it always came through like in a shower, or it came having a hot bath, or they were walking on the beach and it just came through them. And so I believe that we're here to truly live what our greatest gift is. And I think we're here to live like our song. And when we start using that as our life, as our love, and we use it in business, then I think people are going to start to resonate. And I believe that this is like the marketing 2.0 is because it's not about you here trying to say, oh, it's the 3 keys to this and it's the 5 keys to this. And, you know, it's more like, well, hey, I am here as an individual and I'm passionate about who I am. I'm very passionate about my dharma and my purpose. And I've had some transformations, and there's a song that's coming through me. And I'd love to share that song. And I think the more that we share it, then I think people are going to resonate to that. And so I think that is really your frequency, is how well do you tune into your song? But when we say tune, how do you actually tune in? How do you tune into an instrument, or how do you tune in? And that's through the consciousness. It's through breathing. And that's how you tune in. And without it, how would you ever know that there's a song? Because if you're so busy in survival and you're literally trying to put out spot fires, then how are you there awakened to the gift that's actually in you? And if you realize that there is no one that can do it the way that you do it, absolutely no one, then all you have to do is show up and be absolutely radically authentic, be the truth of who you are, and that becomes your song. So your authenticity and your presence and the ability to go into the unknown, that becomes the song. Because what are most people looking for? People are looking for love and connection rather than being in fear. So when someone comes along and they're real and they're connected and they have a daily practice of breath work to fine-tune that song, then guess what? It's like anything. What you focus on, more gets added. More songs start to come through you. So you become a channel for content. You become a channel for the song. And it's a song that just keeps giving.
Yeah, I love that so much. I know when I went down the whole breathwork journey for me about 2 years ago, I was feeling so unfulfilled. I had absolutely everything. And I was like, why am I still so unfulfilled? And it was a case of, and I realized that I wasn't doing any charitable contribution. So I got involved in charities and that fulfilled that. I got involved in breathwork and that brought my happiness back. It helped me tap back into that song. So I absolutely love it. So just before we start wrapping it up, I want to talk about this bouncy, regulated nervous system that you always talk about, because I know it's so good, because I love it. It's like when the shit hits the fan, I can just roll over that little speed bump now, as opposed to before when it would be like a 20-day tantrum. It's now like a 2-minute tanty. So talk about the having a bouncy, regulated nervous system.
Yeah, I love the way that you say bouncy, because that's how it can feel sometimes, right? Life feels up, it feels down, and it feels like you're on this whole wild journey, right? So your nervous system is, you have the ability, right, to master your nervous system. But kind of you got to look at what do we mean by the nervous system. Keep it really simple, right? Like I said, you're either feeling super connected or you're in fear and you're disconnected. So you have a nervous system, and basically it is your brain, your brainstem, your spine, and it's always looking around for threats. Okay, so how do we override that, and how do we then fine-tune that and come back into some sort of harmony like within the nervous system? And so most people think that you need to have a very calm demeanor and you need to be very relaxed. And I thought that you had to be this incredible, beautiful yogi meditating at the top of the Himalayas, and that you had to be super calm all the time. And then I started to learn more about somatics and the nervous system. And what I realized was, to have a bouncy nervous system, as you say, is to have a resilient nervous system. And a resilient nervous system is a nervous system that can actually handle things, right? So the reason we do some of the different breath work, we help people to down-regulate, meaning to calm the nervous system, because you need that. But we don't just want to calm everyone all the time. We want to actually test them a little bit, right? And we want to up-regulate the nervous system. And we do that so you can actually handle stress. If you can't handle stress, then you're always going to be freaked out. You're always going to be in survival brain. So what we have is what's called a window of tolerance. A window of tolerance is this ability to start growing your nervous system and its capacity. And if you can only handle a little bit, imagine only being able to handle a little bit, but you're saying, oh, I would like to 2x my business. But you know that your capacity and your nervous system right now is at absolute capacity. You don't know how to go any further. But you'd like to have more marketing, or you'd like to get out to the world more, or have a product. But how could you handle that if you can't even handle, like, say, where you are right now? So to double or triple or 10x your business, it's your nervous system capacity. And if you can't handle more in your nervous system and your subconscious programming, then you'll always get caught out. And then you'll always sabotage things, right? So if you want to have a bouncy, regulated nervous system that can actually handle everything, it's to how to be down-regulated and how do you be up-regulated. And if you train your nervous system on the daily, you'll notice that your window of tolerance gets bigger and bigger. And after a couple of months, you might be like, wow, I'm handling things at such a higher level that I'm ready to go deeper in my business. And the truth is, I know I can handle it. And that's really exciting. And I think that's why people love working with the nervous system, because it's a way to dive really deep into that transformational phase. And that's what a lot of people don't realize is your transformation is going to come in how well do you handle your nervous system? Because remember, your nervous system is going to link back to your traumas. So if you're running old little traumas all the time or big traumas and you're showing up to business and they're still in you and around you, we call it the issues in the tissues, then how are you going to handle more? You know? So it's no different than, you know, if you're not sweeping your house, looking after your house, but you're going, oh, I'd love to have a big mansion. Well, are you looking after your home that you have right now? Can you handle a bigger home? And that's what I love about the breath work.
Oh, so many good things here. I know, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for today. So how can people connect with you? And do you have like a free resource or something on the website that people can download?
Yeah, absolutely. Like they can come and we have a course. It's called the Calm Kit. And it's a free course. It's beautiful Himalayan breath work. It's all about down regulating and then learning how to do some of the upregulation breaths. Just grab it. It's on the website. So that's just www.treywilliams.com.au. Jump on that or even jump on Instagram. I love sharing stories and going live. And that's just Trey G. Williams. And yeah, you'll see things to different events and programs. And we do some free breath sessions and things like that. So I would love to connect and I would love to talk about transformational breathing.
That's awesome. We'll put all the links in the notes, so don't worry. Everything's going to be inside there so you can connect with Trey. Thank you so much again. And for those of you who are watching online, please make sure that you subscribe, rate, or leave a comment. Thanks so much, guys. Chantal and Trey.
Thanks for having us.